Coming up on our Finding Better podcast, I have Janine McJannet who's joining me, and we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about how to change your mind to change your life. We're going to talk about identifying that stuff inside all of our heads that is keeping us from moving forward to the level of success and love that we want. And she's going to talk about breaking through all of that clutter and, excuse my French, that bullshit in our heads that we have accumulated over a lifetime so that we can then make the choice of moving forward into the life that we want to live. She
Yeah.
is amazing. This is one you're going to want to share. This is one you're going to want to listen to over and over and over again. Share this, okay? So Janine, here we go. Let's go.
Awesome. Let's go. Let's bust through the bullshit, like you say, because it's just kind of stuck in the muck, isn't it?
That's it. All right, folks, here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences with folks who have been there and done that and finding better in our own lives so that maybe you can use those experiences and apply them to your life and make your life better too. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place. I am just going to get right into this. I've got Janine McJannet with me today, and we're going to have an amazing conversation about when you change your mind, you change your life. Now, I want to tell you just a little bit about Janine. Um, she transferred her own life, or not transferred, transformed her own life from an adult child of alcoholics and a fatherless daughter with low self esteem, living with lots and lots of fear, into an expert in what's called rapid transformational therapy, hypnotherapy, and integrative health. And her life is about empowering folks, just like you and me, right? To overcome limiting beliefs and build emotional resilience. I mean, that is amazing stuff. And when we talk about finding better and living a better life, it all starts with you. It all starts with me. It all starts with us, right? But Janine, welcome. Welcome to Finding Better, and thank you for joining me. I know that my folks and I for sure are going to learn a lot from you. So welcome and thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, John. I'm really excited about this conversation. I love your energy, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Well, let's talk about your journey. We're going to talk about things that folks can do. Folks are going to walk away from this conversation going, you know what? I think I'm going to try that. And,
Yeah.
and and we're going to talk about stuff. But let's talk about your journey. Let's talk about your journey and what you went through and how all that led to what you're doing today and helping folks.
Okay, and maybe we can play a little bit here too, because my
Okay,
journey, to make it a little more interesting,
sure.
I write poetry. That's one of the ways that I've healed a lot of my own childhood wounds is by
Okay.
getting into it and being creative about it. And that's what I wholeheartedly recommend to anybody I meet. Is just like whatever your expression is, whatever your outlet is, dive into it and find your passion.
Straight from
So
the
I
heart.
discovered poetry in my 50s. I went, I think I'd like that. And then I sat down at a computer and it was just like I put my fingers there and I closed my eyes and I don't know what happened, but it finished. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I shared it with the group I was in. They went, you just did that like in 5 minutes. I'm going, yes. So then I started to play with it. That's a
Okay.
little bit
So
of
so so here's the thing. Here's
background.
somebody who's listening to us right now is going to try it.
Try it.
I promise. Someone is going to go, "Hey, that sounds fun."
Well,
So, yeah.
there's a seed in all of us. There's many seeds in us, and some of them are unhealthy and some of them are healthy. So I had an unhealthy, toxic, negative seed in myself from my childhood, a wound. And so that's what I concentrated on because I we all have stories. We all have
Well,
so many stories,
we all have hundreds and thousands of seeds
right?
that we know about and we don't know about for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's like be the gardener in your own body, in your own temple,
Ooh.
and start to excavate some of those stories out. And the potential for healing, feeling better, feeling more joy and happiness, it really only grows. And then when you can share it with others, it's like another check mark and like, whoo. And then when you can do things with it and really make a change in other people's lives with some of your own experiences, I think that's what it's all about. It's all
Oh
about
my
just
gosh.
moving it.
Absolutely. And I want to get to your poem.
I know.
But for sure, a big part of the conversation that I'd love to have is how, right? How do you dig up that good stuff and the
Oh,
I'll just
yeah.
call it bad stuff. Right. How do you do that? But please, please share your poem.
Okay. Okay then. I was almost born in a taxi cab, John, the night before Halloween, and my mother held me in her arms, my little darling Janine. She said, "You'll be my pillar of strength for the next decade or two, but please excuse your dad and me for what we're going to do. We're going to drink and smoke and fight and scream and call each other names. Cards of codependency was one of our favorite games. We tried our best, but had no clue of what we would do to you. So forgive us, please, my little girl. And please forgive you too." I was almost lost in the sea of words, the ones that she said to me, the fire I saw and the flames that grew. She blamed the family tree. She said, "You suffered so much." Well, we all did, but I'd wish I'd been there through your fear. If I could hug and kiss you now. I'm so sorry, my dear. I wish they didn't drink and smoke and fight and scream and call each other names. Alcohol and its foul deeds was one of their favorite games. I tried my best, but I had no clue of what would become of me. But I've forgiven myself and them as well, and I'm replanting my family tree.
Whoa. That was beautiful. That was shocking. That was intense, right?
Yeah. So that one was sitting inside of me for decades.
Oh my gosh, and what happened when you wrote that poem?
Well, you see, the first line, "I was almost born in a taxi cab the night before
Right.
Halloween," was with me for years. And I thought, oh, one day that's going to lead to something. Maybe I'll write a song, which it has been. It's a song now, which is great. But um, when I released it, I lost weight. I lost emotional weight. And I felt, okay, what's next? Let's move on. I mean, it's still very much a part of my past, but
Right.
this kind of creative expression is about releasing the past
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to and making mistakes is like even undergoing or being in relationships that weren't beneficial to you in one way or another, right?
Right. 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 Wow. I mean, I can just, the thing, what you did with that poem, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychotherapist or anything like that, but I can imagine you write that poem, you're looking at this thing and you're going, you know what? I'm going to let that go. And you can put it in a file or something. You've got it. You've got it. You've taken it out of here and you've put it over here and now you can move on. Is that kind of what
Mhm.
happens?
Well, that's the first poem, and I've got about 70 now. So yes, that's what
Okay.
happens.
But I mean, you talk about self-therapy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you do that, and so then you said that you shared your poem, and
Mhm.
what happened then when you shared it? Because it's one thing for you to come to a self-realization,
Yeah.
but is there a benefit to share that with
Oh yeah.
others? That
Yeah, so you can do all of these things, whatever your passion is calling you to do, and you can keep them to yourself. You can put them on your computer and you can leave them there and you can, every now and then look at them and go, yeah. Or you can try and help other people. You can make a determined effort to help others. So I connected with other people and I was given a stage to present that on, singing it in front of women um, in Calgary, in Alberta, back in 2019. So it was like a beautiful moment, very scary. Like, I'm not a
Oh my
singer.
God. Yeah.
I'm not going to get up on a
Yeah. Are
stage,
you
but
kidding me? Yeah.
I worked it, and there was an audience of just about 100 women. And I said, well, this is a little bit about me. And I sang it, which is very vulnerable, right? So vulnerability is a big
Of
thing.
course.
And then some of them stand up and they clapped. And it was just like acknowledgement that it's okay. And there's a lot
Totally.
of people in this world that have the same wounds as we do in one way or another. So being able to resonate with somebody else's story helps us. It gives us permission that we can do the same and that we're okay and that we can be more than okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm imagining I mean some of the women probably didn't stand up because they were bawling listening to
Yeah.
your song.
You know what? I'll give you a link to share out, which is
Okay.
a friend of mine in Australia where I grew up has used her beautiful voice and magical guitar skills to create that into an incredible and very soulful piece.
Wonderful. You know what I'm going to do, and next week I'm going to have a new page on my website, folks at johnsuzuki.com, where you're going to be able to go and uh, Janine's stuff will be there, and so
Good.
I'll have the link up there, have information about you, Janine. On my website, so people don't have to be writing things down. I haven't, I've been doing this for over a year, and I've been promising to do this for over a year, and but I will do that. I'll have it launched next week, so
Yes, and
so
you've
that'll be.
committed it now. So there's your
I
goal, and you've
have.
got all these people going, yep,
That's
there's
it. That's it. Oh, and
accountability.
what I mean, by next week, if you're listening, depending on how you're listening to it, next week is the second week in February 2025. So cool.
So you're going to be doing it by Valentine's Day,
There you go.
which is all about love, right?
It
It's
is all
about
about love. It is all
loving
about love, which
yourself.
is perfect.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is amazing. As you're working with people, and let's we started the conversation with a let's get to the how, right?
Mhm.
Because excuse my French, but I got crap rattling around in my head that I don't even know is there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are living. None of us is perfect. We don't have perfect families. You know, when people say they come from a dysfunctional family, I tell them, show me a functional one, right? I mean, we all live with just stuff that we had nothing to do with putting in there, like your poem and with your family and your parents. And then there's stuff that we do put in there, that either we haven't forgiven ourselves about or just so embarrassed that we bury it. So how do you start digging?
Okay, well, it's unique to everyone. And you
Sure.
said, dysfunctional family. I can remember when I thought, oh yes, I have a dysfunctional family. And you know what I would say? I put the fun into dysfunction. That's what I do. We
Yeah,
do.
there you go.
So there's something that really started my own process, and as an adult child of alcoholics, and that was an awareness that came to me in my 50s as well. I went, oh, all of this stuff that I've been carrying around with me inside my head primarily. Um, I wrote that. I wrote that poem, and then I needed a title for it. This is funny how it's coming together. So I Googled, what should I call a song where my father, it was my story because
Hmm.
he passed away and I found him dead. And it led me directly to the Adult Children of Alcoholics, ACA, and dysfunctional families. It's called ACA, or in the US, it's ACOA. And so I went there and I said, oh, what's this about? And the first thing that I saw was what they call the laundry list. And I can give you the links to that too. And there was 12 characteristics or traits of adult children of alcoholics. And so I started to read through them and I went, oh, first one, I said, oh, that is me. That is me. And then I started reading through all of them, and I was crying by about the sixth one. And I resonated in one way or another so much with all of these different traits, that I just went, oh, okay, this is where I'm going to start digging. And so I got a book. It's a fellowship. It's a 12-step program. And I'm not a 12-stepper, but I got the book and I used it as a, I'm like, I
I'm
like to
like a
walk, but I'm
two-stepper.
not a 12-stepper.
Yeah.
So I started to read more about it. And this was like opening up things all the time, opening up all sorts of things. And so if I could just share some of those steps with you.
Sure.
And this is what got me
Please.
going. So the laundry list, 14 traits of an adult child of an alcoholic or dysfunctional family. So that opens it right up. It's not just about alcohol, it's about dysfunction. And like you said, I think over 95% of us on this planet
Yeah.
are dysfunctional in one way or another, whether it's substance
Absolutely.
abuse, physical, mental, emotional abuse,
Yep.
whether it's there. So number one
Yep.
is we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. So I went, oh, I can associate parts of my past and parts of my present with this. The second one just made me go, whew, and you might get it too. We became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process.
Yeah.
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 Number three was we are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. My hands were going up left, right, and center. I'm going.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
We
Another
like to
one is,
think, we like to
okay,
think we're
yeah,
above those things,
yeah,
but you know, peel away a couple layers and
yeah.
a
So
lot
it's gets you thinking.
I think it's and I think one thing is as you're talking about this and this is just to the folks who are listening, as you talk about this, let yourself be vulnerable. Just because the one thing that I have found in my life that has held me back is a refusal to it's just not having an open mind. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. That's somebody else. Um, so yeah, and I'm listening to you, and I've just let that wall come down as I listen to you, and
You can see
all
there's
three of
certain
them.
discomfort
Oh,
right now.
it's hugely
I
discomfortable,
can see you moving
uncomfortable.
around like
Yeah, I
this.
moved around my chair, going, I don't like this so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's a good thing to ask ourselves, what is vulnerability? Because we all have a, a definition or an idea of what being vulnerable is. And a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable because what if? I call it what if-itis.
right,
What if somebody
right.
judges me? What if somebody makes fun of me? What if somebody doesn't listen to me? What if someone rejects me? What if someone abandons me ultimately?
It's fear.
So these fears,
Yep.
these beliefs that we grow up with are based in all of these parts of us that if we don't access them ourselves, we're going to stay stuck and we're going to stay in that place where we don't grow, where we don't evolve. One of the other one of the another one of those laundry list items that I'll just mention, and you can go online and check these out. They're good, is we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility. And it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves.
Oh my God.
This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about layers to peel and holy smoke. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it, we do. We spend I realized at one point in my life that I was spending virtually 100% of my energy,
Mhm.
my heart energy, my brain energy, focused externally, focused on others. And I wasn't doing anything to focus on me.
Yeah.
And so that's huge.
This
That's
is
huge.
the people pleaser, the codependent, the fear of independence. And this is where identity comes into it.
Right.
We are taught when we're younger by our parents, our guardians, our environment, how to act so that we feel significant, so that we feel loved, so that we feel that we belong. And we start to do things to fit into other people's ideas of who we should be. And
And
in
that
doing so,
becomes,
we lose our identity.
yeah, that becomes our identity.
Yeah. And
Right.
that people
Right.
pleaser, that one who's just totally self-sabotaging. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. That's who I work with primarily. There's so many people pleasers in this world, men and women who just want to put their energy on the outside because of fear of vulnerability and what will happen.
It's crazy when you just talked about that. You know what just flashed on my mind was social media. Social
Mm,
media. We are all, and one of the things I talk about kind of regularly. The reason why I have this podcast is because I want this podcast to be a safe place, right? With all the crap out there. I mean, I call them messages of inadequacy, whether it
mhm,
be advertising out there or social media and people out there going, if you don't have a life like mine, you suck. If you don't drive a car like mine, you suck, right? And we spend so much of our time trying to impress others, and it goes across virtually every part of our lives. From where we're spending our time and attention and who we're spending our time and attention with to what we're spending our money on.
yeah,
We're so focused external money, just something as simple as money, right? We're so focused. So many of us are focused on spending our money to impress others
yeah.
that if we just shift that and into impressing yourself by saving more money, right? But we're so externally I'm sorry. You
You're
got
not
me on
sorry.
a little
This
bit
is
of a
this is perfect because even just what you said, if we just shift ourselves, and that's the how, right? How do we shift ourselves from these
right.
behaviors, from these thoughts, from these feelings, from these actions that we've carried with us for so long, for our whole lives? How do we change? How do we transform? How do we get out of this muck?
Yeah, we're
And
programmed.
often we don't know.
It's our programming, right? And so how do you take that lifetime program or that lifelong program and start zapping things?
This is so good because you come from the world of technology and it's
Yep.
all about reprogramming.
Right.
So what do you need to do to reprogram a computer? You have to understand what's there. And that's what our mind is. You have to understand how it's operating, what the operating system is, so that you can get in there and shift what you want to shift to see what you want to see, to be who you want to be, to create what you want to create.
And it sounds like that little list that you're going to send me the link on could be a really good place to start because when you the 4 or 5 that you mentioned, I just went,
Yeah.
that would be really interesting because I'm totally a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And sometimes it paralyzes me.
Yeah. Oh,
It totally
absolutely.
paralyzes me.
Yeah.
And I'm because the people pleasing part of me fears the failure of criticism, of um, not pleasing somebody, right?
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I got this other side of me that believes to the bottom of my heart that failure sharpens you, right?
Mhm.
Failure, people are afraid of failure. There's a big part of me that says, let's go for it and let's fail fast. Right.
Yeah.
And so you got these conflicting things going on in my head. I don't think I'm special, right?
No, no, this is actually beautifully presented by you because it's one of the rules of the subconscious mind. It's one of the rules of the mind that the mind cannot hold conflicting beliefs or thoughts. They cancel each other out. So here is like, I can fail. It's going to be good for me. I can't fail. It's going to be good
Right,
for me. So what
right,
happens is they come
exactly.
together, and as the adult regulating self, you're like, oh, I don't know. Your mind does what your body tells it, and so when you're telling it to do multiple things, you're like, whoo, and then you stay in complacency, or then you
Exactly.
procrastinate, or then you have those fears that keep you held back.
I experienced that this morning.
You just experienced it. Yeah, we experience it all the time. So it's recognition. It's like, oh. let's make a decision. And that is one of the hardest things for people pleasers to do. It's like, oh, what if it's the wrong decision? The fear of failure, the
Yeah.
fear of judgment, and all those fears step in.
Fear of judgment, fear of failure.
Fear of
You know?
rejection. And as
Yeah.
you know, the fear of ultimately for me, the fear of abandonment. And that can go back to childhood wounds. One of the other traits of an adult child of alcoholics and dysfunctional families in that laundry list is that we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings
Right.
because it hurts so much. And that's denial.
And we've totally
That's so
suppressed
sad.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It wow. So that list, you're going to send me the link,
Yeah.
and so that folks will be able to get to it because what I'm going to do with that, and
We'll talk.
Janine and folks, I'm gonna go through that list, and I'm really, really sincerely going to um, ponder
Yeah. Ponder,
each one of them,
reflect, express,
yeah,
and share.
ponder, reflect, express, and share.
Yeah. It's a good one. Should write that down.
Yeah, I will.
But it
Um,
is. So
yeah,
it is like back to getting up on the stage and sharing my story, and sharing how I rewrote my story. And that's what I've been doing. When I realized that I was stuck in the same story, the same, and I realized I don't want to be here anymore because we're all getting older. And who wants to be in a hospital at the end of their lives going, I wish I would have, I wish I would have.
right, right,
Dude,
exactly, exactly, exactly. We think of just the conversation we had about programming and what's going on in our head. And this is, I want to share this with the folks that are listening. Janine and I started this conversation, and I told her, I said, I don't edit any of my podcast episodes. We just go in and have a great conversation. But the one thing I do almost 99% of the time is I screw up the introduction. But once we get past that introduction, we're going to be golden. And she goes, and Janine says, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, are you constantly telling yourself that? And I laughed and I said, yes. And she says, well, you're going to screw up. And she
yeah.
says, you're going to nail this one.
Yeah. And you did a good job. I asked you to
Yeah.
stop it because that's the awareness piece. You got to take action on it. Another one of the subconscious rules, the rules of the subconscious mind, is that your mind always does what it thinks you want it to do. So by you telling yourself that I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm going to screw it up, I'm going to fail, guess what? Your mind doesn't care if it's right or wrong. It just knows what you want it to do. And so it goes down to
Oh,
the subconscious. We don't even know this. Like experiences from our past, they play havoc with our desire for what we want to do in the future. And so we stay in this place with worry, with anxiety, with depression and stress, with self-sabotage, just going, oh, I can't do that because I'm going to get hurt. There's going to be pain. There's going to be some level of pain. And all our mind wants to do is find pleasure and be comfortable. So we stay in this little bubble of comfort, getting close to the edge sometimes going, no, I can't do it. I don't want to get hurt. So it's taking risk. And this is the conscious part of ourselves that has to take the action to step out of discomfort, across the line, across from those limiting beliefs, and become, say, do, think, feel as we want to grow and evolve in our relationships, not only with other people, but in our relationships with ourselves and, of course, with the environment around us.
what you just said was really intense to me because it's I'll use this term, but let me clarify. It's a what you just talked about to me is a very, very heavy lift. It's a very heavy lift. And the reason why I say that is because as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, without people consciously making a decision that they're going to challenge their thoughts, that they're gonna go through this process, we're just living through life. All of us are just
A
living
treadmill.
through life. And we don't know what's going on, right? And
The unconscious.
the unconscious. So
Yeah.
bringing it up to the up to the level of awareness as you just did for us, Janine, um, we now can do something about it. We now can, we don't have to boil the ocean. And I love the old saying that don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Mhm.
We can start just making baby steps, right? Because I think the biggest thing that you've given my audience and me is a little bit of awareness,
Mhm.
a little bit of awareness. And now uh, it's up to us to decide whether we're going to do something with that or not.
Yeah. That's we hear all the gurus talking about awareness is the first step. I go against that and say
Okay.
curiosity comes before awareness. You have to
Oh,
be
good, good,
curious,
good.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I write an article every week called the ABC of life, and it is awareness. So we have to become aware of what it is that's going on inside of us that may not be aligning with our own values
Right. Right.
or anything. And the B is for beliefs. It's understanding what your belief system is. Now, that's not easy to do. Let me just think, what are all my beliefs? We have
Right.
so many beliefs. And that's where the work that I do, I thrive. I'm passionate about helping people understand what their beliefs are and to transform their beliefs. And the C is courage, having the courage to
Ooh.
transform and to change, to step out of the mold, to step out of the comfort zone and go, yeah, there's something more out there.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And hypnotherapy is but one modality where you can do it. You can stay in talk therapy, and some people have for months and years and years. Or you can do it quickly and get back to it. And that's why I chose to become a therapist in rapid transformational therapy and hypnotherapy, because I thought there was a piece missing in my coaching work that really involved like, let's get this belief out and let's transform it. Let's just change. There's no point sitting in the past and talking over and over about what's happened to you, how bad you feel, what kind of relationship problems you're having all the time. It's like, how can you change? Because you're central, you're the core, you're the trunk to your family tree. And so when I talk about replanting your family tree, it really is looking at the ground, metaphorically looking at the ground that you're
Right.
planted in, and what kind of soil, what kind of nutrition, what kind of nourishment is
What
there.
kind of bullshit?
Yeah, that the toxins.
Right.
And to be able to put yourself in a place where you want to be, giving it the ingredients and the nourishment that you want and that you need, be it love, compassion, be it forgiveness, be it anything. What do you want? What do you need? And how can you start to flourish as the trunk of your own family tree? As one who I used to envision myself hanging off the limbs just by my fingertips, going, I'm going to drop for this one. And it was reality for me in my early 20s that life was hopeless. And so I learned helplessness as well. And I forged through and came out. I'm coming out pretty good, but there's always work to do. And I was stuck. I was stuck in that cage of complacency for so long. So awareness is huge. You can read a book and become aware, and in the morning you can close the book and put it back down and you'll forget.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
we want transformation, not just education.
Right. Right. Can you um sh if you would, I'd love for you to share a story of somebody that you worked with um uh who went
Okay.
through that transformation process and how they came out at the end of it. Or at
Yeah.
not the end, there is no end. Um how
Well, at
things
the
worked
end of
out.
our work together, you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah? Yeah. So there's been a lot of clients who I work with low self-esteem, low confidence, and who say, I'm sorry a lot. So I've got a client in mind now. She will say, I'm sorry multiple times without even knowing it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So she didn't feel that she was good enough. She didn't feel that she was smart enough. She didn't feel that she was worthy enough or significant. And that everything that happened in her life was her fault. So there was this huge shame that she had put on, and she used blaming as a mechanism to be able to keep herself in survival mode. So we worked through coaching. We helped unglue some of those patterns. So important to understand what your patterns are. And then through the RTT session, because I integrate the coaching with the hypnotherapy, we were able to come to a belief that she had, that she didn't even know she had, that was stopping her from moving forward. And that belief comes from experiences. So what hypnotherapy is just generally is getting into a super relaxed state of mind
Mm-hmm.
and accessing, a few memories that have all to do with what you're having a problem with, and then putting the pieces together. So like that hardware in the computer, it's just like pulling the pieces, putting them together, and then reframing it, and then letting it go, and then understanding it. So hypnotherapy is really about understanding, and it's so powerful when you understand why you do or say or think or feel something and
Mm-hmm.
what's associated. When you understand that piece of awareness, and you're like, oh, it's all to do with beliefs. And now we get the courage, we get the confidence. And that's why I bring the coaching together too, because accountability is a lot when it comes to confidence. It's like, what are you going to do? What do you want to do? We all want to do and
Totally.
be and say things, but we're afraid that something's going to happen to set us back. So that's the power of hypnotherapy, and being able to do that. And so she realized that, and she was like, every week was like, oh, and I've got, I don't know, 100 tools or so to help people get through little blocks.
Can you share what that block was for that person you worked with?
Yes, I can. It was just, I am not good enough. That's what came. And her experiences and all of her mind and her thought, it was just like her thoughts and her experiences from her past, I should say, they were all evidence into why she wasn't good enough.
Mm.
And she kept finding evidence that I'm not good enough. She kept telling herself, remember, the rule of the mind is that we believe what we tell ourselves. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. All this, I can't. I call
I'm
it
going to screw up the
right?
introduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so,
I don't mean to make light of it, but
no,
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's that awareness. And then, like, tears are often shed because
I can
what it comes
imagine.
down to is us as a human not really loving ourselves enough. It comes down to love.
It's all about love. It's all
All you
about
need is love. But all you need is love from yourself first and foremost.
my favorite song. And
All
people
you
are
need
people are
is love.
yeah, no, my favorite song in addition to all you need is love is The Greatest Love of All by
Oh,
Whitney Houston, right? It's I remember one time I was at the office and it was late at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And I was playing that song, right? Kind of booming it in my office. And then a bunch of people from my office came in and said, "What are you listening to?" And they just laughed. And I
yeah.
said, "Hey, it's one of my learning to love yourself. It is the greatest love of all." And I
Yeah.
do believe that to the bottom of my heart.
And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful way for expression, right? Even just listening to music, creating a playlist for yourself that is empowering, or that is grieving, or that whatever it is you want to feel, and just allowing yourself to feel the feelings. It's a choice, right? It's a choice that we have all the time, is we can choose our moods. We can choose our moods by
Oh
telling
my God.
ourselves things,
You're
right?
you're so right. You're so right. I mean, we can decide to be happy. We can decide. We do. We choose all the time. We choose our responses to
Yeah.
things all the time, and
Subconsciously, often.
subconscious or even consciously. But yeah, subconsciously. I mean, that's a whole nother thing that we've been talking about, which is just crazy. And
I want to share
uh-huh.
I want to share this little poem with you because I think it's on topic. It's called You Choose.
Perfect. Perfect.
I
Do it.
know. Okay, I'll do it. I know I'm all right, but I used to think that I was wrong. And I used to think that I was weak, but now I know that I'm strong. It's this crazy that we call life that we all get to bear. And what makes it so special is our desire and our willingness to share. We can stuff down life's bad bits and we can pull up our masks and we can cover it all up with those people-pleasing tasks. But I have learned to stand up and walk with my pain. And those valuable lessons are now my sweet game. And I've learned to break free and not hide from my past, but to hold it up with grace and a mighty good grasp. I've learned to speak my truth, and I have found treasures galore, simply like walking with my head up and not looking down at the floor. And I've learned to listen to my soul and to trust my own intuition. And my passion to connect is now core to my mission. We've only got one life to live, and it's this one right here. So let's cherish it always and not live in fear. Let's welcome our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our moods, because it's never too late to change. It's your life, and you choose.
You choose. You ended that with you choose. It's your choice.
Yeah, it's your
That
life,
is
you
amazing.
choose.
Huh?
It's your life, you choose.
My there are folk that I have said, and I do believe that my life and your life is the product of the decisions and the choices that we've made.
Yeah.
And some people are, disagree and they say, well, I couldn't choose my parents. There's all kinds of things that I can't choose. And I tell them, I said, okay, so look, from this moment on, would you agree with this statement that from this moment on, the product of your life in the future is going to be the product of the decisions and choices you make from now on?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody says, yeah.
Yeah.
And when some people can walk away and still be in disagreement, but you know, other folks have said to me, wow, that's a really cool way to look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
realize they have a choice and the choice is theirs and theirs alone. And, folks, I understand that we all have stuff going on around us. We all have our social circles. We all have the things and the challenges and all that and the bullshit of life. But the fact of the matter is, no matter where you are, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, it's your choice to,
Yeah.
to do something about it, which is
Yeah.
awesome, right?
It is.
I mean,
It's awesome.
that of itself is one of the most empowering things I've ever realized,
Yeah.
right? And so thank you for sharing that poem. You choose, you
You're
choose.
welcome. And it is. It's all perspective, isn't it? It's
It
all
is.
perspective.
And you've given us a perspective, you've given us some of the how, right? You've given us a starting point, you've given us reason to be curious, you've given us some awareness. And I'll tell you something, I don't know what we if anybody could ask for more than that. And you're amazing. You're
Well,
just amazing. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I'm gonna post the information that you send me on my website, folks at johnsuzuki.com. And Janine, include whatever you'd like to include on it. I mean, if how people can get in touch with you, what anything,
yeah.
because yeah, anything.
I've made it simple. I made it simple. It's findjanine.com. And
Findjanine.com.
there
Okay.
you'll get to a little tree and you'll be able to connect with me, have a conversation, chat about hypnotherapy if you want to, um, and and explore what the possibilities are, what the potential is for you to be able to take that step. Because sometimes it's pretty scary, and sometimes you just want a little help. We all
Yeah.
have to ask for help. We're so used to trying to do everything by ourselves. But
Yes.
I've got decades of experience and I've invested a lot in learning. So I want to create that transformation for people, not in decades like with myself, but in days. And that can often happen with an RTT, which is the rapid transformational therapy session, but it's so much more powerful when integrated with that, with
I'll
coaching,
bet.
integrated coaching. Yeah.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Janine, this has been amazing.
You're
There's a couple of
amazing.
times that I have fought the tears.
I saw that. We can
Thank you
talk
for
later.
thank you for sharing your poems and your experience and yeah, helping us all find a little bit better in our lives.
And thank
So
you for this as well, John. This is great
yeah, yeah.
platform.
So
Thank
folks, with that, Janine, I love you. God bless you. All of you out there, I love you. God bless you. Um, share this, share this, and you could change somebody's life. And
you.
remember, it's your choice. Okay. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye.